We're ready to begin tonight's City of Gardena regular City Council meeting for August the 8th, 2017. Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Noting the presence of all council members.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, do we have anything to report from closed session?
Yes, in closed session, the council unanimously approved the settlement of the case of Ursel Reed versus City of Gardena in the amount of $193,000.
Okay, thank you. So next at this time, we're going to begin with our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Asia Franklin and Stacy Flores. Immediately following that, if everyone can continue standing as we're led in our invocation by the Reverend Juan C. Huguera.
Please stand. Face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Pastor Higuera.
Thank you. Paul the Apostle commanded all men to pray with supplications, prayers, intercessions, and to give thanks to God for all men. He said to pray for rulers, for governors, so we can live a quiet and peaceable life. That's what we're going to do. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you so very much for your goodness. We thank you, Lord, for our salvation. We thank you, Lord, for our city, but we also thank you for our nation. We thank you for our president. We ask you to give him wisdom as he leads the country. We thank you also, and we ask you that you bless this meeting and anything that is going to happen and the things, the subjects they're going to talk about. We ask you that you bless our mayor, Tasha Cerda, that you give her wisdom, Lord, so she can lead this beautiful city. We pray for our city. We pray for the safety of our people. We pray that you give them safety on the streets, when they go to work, when they go to school, when they come from work, when they're going back home. We ask you, Lord, that you bless our people. We also ask you, Lord, and pray that you bless our fire department. Every time they go out on a call, when they hear the siren go off, we ask you for their protection, for their families. Bless them. And we also ask you for our police department. When they leave in the mornings, Lord, when they leave their families behind to fulfill their duties, we ask you, Lord, that you bless them, give them protection so they can come back home to be with their families. We ask you, Lord, and we pray for our schools, for the instructors, the teachers, the students. We ask you that you give them wisdom to become good citizens. We ask you, Lord, again for our nation and bless our president and give him wisdom. We ask you all these things in the beautiful name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Bear with me just a moment here. Okay, so tonight's Pledge of Allegiance was led by two students from Dinker Elementary School, Asia Franklin and Stacy Flores. Can both of you guys please come back to the front? We're going to first begin with Asia Franklin. She is 9 years old, and as mentioned, she's a student at Dinker Elementary. Asia will be going to the 4th grade next year, and she's a participant in the summer day camp at Arthur Johnson Memorial Park. Asia, can you tell us who brought you to tonight's meeting?
I bring my mom, my dad, my 3 cousins, and my auntie.
Oh, wow. Where are they at? Okay, well, everyone, let's give them a round of applause. Very nice. Asia, would you like to say anything else besides that?
Well, I'm thankful for you guys letting me do the pledge here.
Well, thank you, too, because you did a great job. So.
Thank you.
Also tonight, we were led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Stacy Flores, who is also a student at Dinker Elementary School. Next year, she will be in the 3rd grade, and she is also a participant in the summer day camp program at Arthur Johnson Park. So, Stacy, who did you bring tonight with you?
My mom.
Your mom, where's she at? Right here? Okay, everyone, please give her a round of applause. And would you like to say anything?
I'm saying thank you for you guys letting me and Asia do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, well, thank you, too. Both of you guys did a great job, and I'm looking forward to you guys coming back again in the future to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So everyone, again, please give them a round of applause. You can take your seat now. Thank you. So also tonight, our invocation was led by the Reverend Juan C. Higuera, who is the pastor at Iglesia Bautista Biblica, which is located at 17120 South Normandy Avenue. Pastor Higuera has served as pastor of Iglesia Bautista Biblical, which is a Spanish ministry of Bible Baptist Church, since March of 2015. Previously, he served as pastor of Iglesia Bautista Agua Viva in Long Beach, California. Pastor Higuera is a native of Mexico. He came to the United States at the age of 13 and grew up in Gardena. He graduated from high school and attended El Camino College. He also attended and graduated from AIC Theological Seminary in 1992 and went on to attend First Baptist College in Long Beach, graduating with a Bachelor's of Theology degree in 2013. He is involved in all aspects of church activities, including mission here and abroad, community outreach programs, and visitations wherever there is a need. Pastor Higuera is very happy and privileged to serve the church and our community. Pastor, would you like to come back to the front again? Yes, anything you'd like to say? If there's anything you would like to say.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I didn't hear that. Yeah, well, I'm very grateful for the invitation. It is an honor to pray for the meeting, and we'll be continue praying for your meetings and for you especially as our mayor.
Thank you very much. We
Thank you.
appreciate that. Everyone, please give them a round of applause as well. So tonight we're moving forward now to presentations. The first presentation is going to be through G-Trans, and we're going to let our transportation director, Director Ernie Crespo, speak on this here.
Trying to get used. There it is. All right. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. It's my privilege and honor to spend a little bit of time recognizing 3 individuals from the G-Trans Transit Department for doing their duties that sometimes we look upon as just being traditional days of work. But I want you to put into perspective that G-Trans carries about 3.4 million passengers a year. So that's 3.4 million interactions with people that we engage with. Now put that into perspective of how many cars and bikes and people, pedestrians are out there. It's probably billions of interactions, from lane merging, freeway crossings, people cutting you off. That's what our 3 operators that we're recognizing today managed to do without having any accidents. And that is a big accomplishment, because as we all drive our own cars, that's something we try to avoid. And some of us are good at it, and some of us aren't. I won't point fingers. But so today was this moment. We had our annual safety awards in May, and these three individuals were our top of our class, as you could say. But so at first, I'd like to recognize Ms. Tanya Hill. She was hired with us in 1998 and has been driving for us for 18 years of safe driving. So if you put it in perspective, we kind of tried to add a little trivia. So over 18 years, Ms. Hill has driven 331,200 miles, enough to drive between LA and New York 118 times, back and forth, safely, without an accident. Ms. Tanya Hill, congratulations. I also have to put a little fun fact. Ms. Hill loves to take cruises and visits Jamaica often. Her nickname is Lucky because she always wins at casinos and on lottery tickets. So we want to do some kind of pool, because there's like $300-something million going on recently. We know who to want to be on her ticket. So, right? Next operator I'd like to recognize, who's started with us in 1992 and has operated for 24 years of safe driving. That is Ms. Sharon Profit. And again, to put it in perspective, over 24 years, Ms. Profit has driven 441,600 miles, enough to drive around the equator 17 times, all safely. And when we mean safely, that means not a single preventable accidents. That means slip and falls, people who fall inside the buses. If it happens, it wasn't our operator's fault. And the one thing that we gauge preventability, the one question we always ask is to determine if an accident is preventable or not preventable, in transit terms, is could you have done anything to prevent this accident from happening? And if the answer is yes, then it's most likely a preventable accident. If the answer is no, then there's nothing you could have done. So these operators today being recognized have had non-preventable accidents. So congratulations to Ms. Sharon Profit. And the last but not least, Mr. Herbert Coates was hired with us in 1980, and he has driven 28 years of safe driving. Again, put in perspective, 28 years, he has driven 515,200 miles, enough to drive to the moon 2.2 times. Just to give you perspective how far that is. And in his free time, one of his fun facts is Mr. Coates enjoys gardening and cutting his lawn. So again, Mr. Coates, congratulations. Thank you, guys. And do you guys have any? Or?
Yeah, let's take a picture with them as well. And again, the entire city council here, we definitely would like to thank Ms. Tanya Hill, Sharon Profit, Herbert Coates. This is amazing. You probably could give us all a driving lesson or two here to make us better drivers. But again, congratulations. That's amazing here. So we're going to take a quick picture with you guys. Okay, also tonight we have another proclamation, and this one here is to celebrate the 87th anniversary of the City of Gardena, which is September the 11th. So the City of Gardena, California, was incorporated on Thursday, September the 11th, 1930, combining the rural communities of Gardena, Moneta, and Strawberry Park into a municipal corporation. At that time, Gardena was a small farming community of about 20,000 people. 87 years later, with a population of over 61,000 residents, Gardena has developed into a busy, desirable destination for new residents and a welcoming settling for corporate citizens. In fitting recognition of Gardena's 75th anniversary landmark theme, celebrating history, heritage, and opportunity, we have continued over the past 12 years to celebrate with great pride our cultural wealth and remarkable ethnic diversity through our annual city and community events and activities. So I proclaim that Monday, September the 11th, 2017, to be the City of Gardena's 87th anniversary day, to bring appropriate recognition and awareness of our beautiful community, multifaceted history, and rich heritage, and to look forward to opportunities to celebrate its progress and success in our city's future. So that is September the 11th, which is City of Gardena's 87th anniversary. Next up is appointments. Does any member of the council have any appointments to be made to any commissions, committees, boards, or council at this time?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I do.
Go ahead.
It gives me great pleasure to introduce and bring to our city Ms. Patricia Worthy. She's a current secretary, past president of Kiwanis Club. She's a part of our Jazz Festival Committee, and she just received an outstanding volunteer award for our Meals on Wheels. And it gives me pleasure to put her on the Senior Citizens Commission and the Garden of Beautification. So I get a twofer from her.
Okay. I have a quick question just for some direction here. Do we need to take up two separate motions because it's two different committees, or just one? Okay, so Councilmember Tanaka's made the motion to appoint Ms. Worthy to the Seniors Citizens Commission, the Gardena Beautification Committee. Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Tanaka and a second by Councilmember Kaskanian. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Kaskanian.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Medina.
Yes.
Councilmember my God. Henderson, thank you.
Yes.
Senior moment, I'm sorry. And Mayor Tasha Serta.
Yes. And do any of these positions need to be sworn in? Okay. So, Ms. Worthy, at this time, if you'll come forward here, we just want to swear you into the Senior Citizens Commission.
I,
Patricia A. Worthy,
Patricia A. Worthy,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well
and that I will well
and faithfully
and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And please follow me.
Ms. Worthy, if you'd like to say anything, you're welcome to. If you'd like to, or if not, it's okay.
It's my pleasure to serve.
The microphone, please.
Just like to thank Councilman Tanaka for giving me the opportunity, and it is my pleasure to serve.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next up is the consent calendar. Does any member of the council have any items that they wish to discuss separately? Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and it's only because I forgot to email the chief earlier about these items. One quick question I had, Chief.
Well, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Do you want to discuss them separately, because we can pull them out and we can discuss them separately and then approve the rest of it at that time?
Yeah, let's pull them. They're real small questions, so yes.
Which items are there?
One was in regards to the warrants and payroll register.
Okay. And
And
what was the other one?
And the other one was in regards to one of the departmental reports we received in our packet, but it would fall under, I guess, the consent calendar.
It's in the consent calendar as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So at this time, can I get a motion to approve the current consent calendar, excluding the two items, one in the warrants report and the other in the departmental report?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by by Mayor Pro Tem Medina and a second by Councilmember Tanaka. Will you call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Medina,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka, Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian,
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, now let's go to the excluded items in the consent calendar.
Sure. Thank you. Chief, in regards to the payroll register, we paid a consultant to work on our sustainability and multimodal plan. I just want to know what plan is that the consultant's working on.
Which item are you referring to on the register?
The item, I don't really want to name the consultant.
No, what page?
What page is it? Let me go back. It is, let's see, I want to say page, let me search it. It's with Van Loon. It's one of those hyphenated names. It's 1193. 1193. 1193. Yeah, it's on page 1, first page. And my search didn't work, so now we got to. Oh, so we got something else we got to look at. It's in the amount of 1193.
I don't have the backup information available with me at this time. I seen the back. Our chief financial officer is looking at that and see if he can provide it. Maybe I can get that at the end of the.
Yeah, I just wanted to know what project that's related to. No problem. Second question, it was regards to our general information requests. The city of Gardena receives those 75 a day, which is quite a bit. But do we have a number of how many of those requests that we get resolved in regards to when we receive them? I'm sure they go to various departments. Are those departments, how do you track a request from the first time that we make contact into the resolution?
So referring to Gardena Direct? Yeah, Gardena Direct has a pretty robust set of analytics in the back end. So from the time the request is made all the way through completion, it is tracked step by step, who interacts with it, who comments on it, the time it takes, and we get monthly reports that indicate what items are open, closed, and then the reports are also very in-depth in terms of the average turnaround time for completion of each request. For example, the last report I reviewed essentially and I can't give you the exact percentage, but a high percentage, and exceeding 60%, were handled between 1 and 2 days. If you would like, I can give you one of those sample reports of the next council agenda item so that you can look at it, and it's actually a really interesting report.
Thank you. I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, the item that I believe our financial officer, or somebody was going to bring to the attention, the 1193.
Good evening. So actually, the 1193 is not a consultant at the moment. It's one of our own employees. She's attending she's currently out there in Minnesota. It's for the American Public Transit Association's planning workshop. So where they work on transit planning, and that's what the curriculum. So it's sustainability and multimodal transit planning, and that's where that's for.
Thank you. I just was wondering if we got a new project coming. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. We're learning projects.
Okay, great, thank you. So at this time, we need a motion to approve the items that we didn't approve in the consent report. So can I get a motion to approve the excluded items?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, at this time, there's a motion made by Councilmember Henderson and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Medina. Will you call the roll, please? It's fine. Mayor Pro Tem Medina. Okay. Can you call the roll, please? Keep it simple.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Medina.
Yes.
Councilmember Kaskanian.
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, next up is item numbers 7, Planning and Environmental Quality Commission action sheet. Is there any items that we'd like to call for review or appeal the decision on items number 7A1 or 7A2?
Yes,
not, I was going to say, if not, we can receive and file, but you'd like to appeal one?
Yes, I do. On item number 7, conditional use permit number 7-17.
Okay, and you'd like to appeal this item here?
I would like to review it.
You'd like to review this item here. And I, too, would also like to appeal the item number 7A1, which is, I guess, conditional use permit 8-17. So I'd like to call for review for both of those items.
Okay, we can schedule those for the next meeting.
Okay, that would be great. Okay, so moving on to the next item here, we have oral communication. And it looks like we have one speaker tonight, Cheryl Sherman. Just want to remind you that we do have a 3-minute limit, and when the light starts flashing yellow, that you only have 30 seconds left, and when the light turns red, you can just go ahead and finish your thought, but not extend further. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Cheryl Sherman, Vice President of Friends of Gardena Willows Wetland Preserve, and I would like to remind everyone that Sunday, August the 13th, the preserve will be open for our second Sunday stroll from 1 to 4, and our theme for the day is trees and the environment, and at approximately 1:15 we will have a docent tour led through the preserve. So if you're interested in taking a tour with a docent, the docent this month will be a board member and a very knowledgeable person in this field, a professor at Cal State Dominguez Hills, our own Kelly Dowdy. So she's a wealth of information, and it will be, I'm sure, a very enjoyable stroll for those wanting to come and learn more about the preserve, more about trees and the environment. She teaches in the Earth Life Science Department. I will also mention that in August, we will not be having a restoration workday We have canceled them for the summer months due to the excessive heat. So I just want to make everyone aware that August 19th, Restoration Workday is canceled at the Preserve. We don't feel that it's safe for everyone to be out working with the humidity and the heat in the Preserve. And I want to remind everyone that the Preserve is open on the fourth Saturday of the month from 1 to 4 for take a stroll. Remember, this is your preserve. You own it. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? It's federally protected, so it's owned by the citizens. And so come out and enjoy it. And there's benches for you to sit on, excuse me, relax. And on the second Sunday stroll, we have a children's area for activities for children to be able to enjoy. So hope to see you there. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Next up is item number 8A1. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, this is a update on the 5-year strategic plan that runs from 2016 to 2021. I have a short presentation. The only action that's required by the City Council is to receive and file, so I'm going to step out and do a quick presentation on this. So in order to enhance the transparency of what the city is doing, as indicated, we'll be seeing a little bit more of these presentations. I think it's important for our community to recognize all of the efforts that the City Council, the employees, and also community members are doing towards reaching our strategic objectives. So the strategic plan was approved by the City Council in March of 2016. It was developed with a substantial amount of support from employees at all levels, employee organized groups, as well as comments and consideration from community members in terms of what was important to the future of Gardena. So there are 7 key goals that we identified in the strategic plan. You probably have seen these before. One is community safety. Next is recreation, human services, parks and facilities, economic development, the city's fiscal stability, transportation, community facilities and infrastructure, and Gardena workforce excellence. You'll notice that many of these goals were funded in our budget presentation and were referred to in that presentation because it's important when you identify goals, you properly resource them to ensure that they are ultimately realized. So let's go with goal number 1. It's community safety, some 1-year accomplishments. We established a community affairs position, which is housed in the police department. She works part-time, and her entire job is to organize our outreach along with the district lieutenants, officers, and sergeants. A couple really interesting things that you may not know. If you're a new resident and you move into the city of Gardena, you're given a welcome package that's delivered to your house by volunteers or members of the community, just so that you know all available resources and everything that the city has to offer. It always includes the most current edition of our newsletter. So that's kind of a really interesting touch, and I think it's very unique that a community will reach out to its new residents with that. We've continued to expand our Gardena Hawthorne Mental Health Evaluation Team. They are one very busy team. With the increase in homeless in Los Angeles County, Gardena is certainly not immune to that. Officer Dixon and our clinician, Patty Pasillas, are very active. Real recently, I had a visit from one of their main bosses at Department of Mental Health, and once again, they reestablished that we're in the top producing teams in Los Angeles County, and they're very proud of our partnership with the Gardena Police Department and the city. As you all know and you voted and approved, we implemented a full deployment of body-worn camera video, so we are fully deployed on that. And then we continue to expand our community outreach programs. As many of you have seen, we have a new outreach motorhome out there that we brought out to the National Night Out, and we're using that to get our message out to the communities when there's not other space available. Next, Recreation, Human Services, Parks, and Facilities. I know that's got a lot to swallow, but we implemented community surveys and exit polls to determine what are the needs of our community, how are they liking the programs we're delivering, and what they'd like to see more of, maybe less of, so that we can tailor our approach to ensure that our community is getting the type of recreational programs that they'd like. We had a fundraiser recently for the Gardena Senior Daycare / Alzheimer's Clinics that was hosted out here to attract awareness to that program and to raise additional money for it. On the kind of switching gears kind of quickly is we developed a master tree plan. Now, I know that we get quite a few of community members asking, when's my tree going to be trimmed, et cetera. There's a long-term plan for that. All the trees were surveyed so that we had an idea of what condition they were in, and there is a master plan. Now, that doesn't mean from time to time a tree needs special attention because of maybe some damage or other things, but we try to stick to that master plan to make sure that we have the entire city is covered with the trimming of the trees. We replaced the Raleigh Park front doors with ADA acceptable accessible doors using community development block grant money, and that's the first of many improvements that are going to occur in the park and other parks. And as I mentioned that, I want to recall that I made a commitment to update the council every quarter on the status of our capital improvement plan. I plan on presenting the first report in the October timeframe, so you understand where all these different parks and infrastructure improvements are occurring. And then, as you know, we refurbished the Prim Pools office and locker room to make it suitable for the summer activities there. Next, economic development, one-year accomplishments. We modified the municipal code, which you're going to look at today, relative to density bonus for affordable housing, and of course the accessory dwelling units to be consistent with state law. That's an item on your plate tonight for voting. We had ongoing meetings in collaboration with the South Bay Cities of Councils of Government and the LA EDC. We're also looking at the new fiber program that the SCOG, the South Bay Council of Governments, is trying to coordinate to attract high-tech businesses to this region. You know, the availability of fiber is really important, so I know that we're working hard and networking and attending all of those meetings. The fee schedule was updated in May 17. You all voted on that, which brought in an additional $463,000 in additional revenue for the fiscal year 16-17. That's always a positive move. Our fees were, you know, outdated, and that we plan on doing that to update those as often as possible and ensuring that we keep up with the cost of living increases. And finally, a special interest is you know, this is work that was identified in-house by employees. There was a lot of business licenses that were either they were stagnant, they hadn't been paid, or they just were never applied for. And through a lot of due diligence with community development, employees, code enforcement, et cetera, we resulted in about 1,100 cases, which recovered $385,000 in delinquent revenue. And that's money that we otherwise would not have realized, and some great hard work there by our folks in community development. Fiscal stability, of course, with our history is always important. As you all know, we reviewed, and we have new contracts for all the labor agreements. The last portion of the first year cycle of that went into effect last month, with the employees fully paying their employee portion of the retirement system to help us with our long-term liability in our pension fund. We updated the sewer fees, which will result in about $6.7 million over the next 5-year period. That's important because that's something that no one really pays attention to because it's underground, but you pay attention to when you can't flush your toilet, you know, and it becomes very important. But we have a master plan for that. Now the sewer fee will allow us to realize that master plan and keep the city's infrastructure, a very important part of it, working and to the best of its ability. We did an audit of our gas taxes. Great work to our finance department to take a look at what things were missing, and we found that there was some significant revenue losses in our our gas tax because we hadn't been appropriated the right administrative overhead costs. You're going to see over the next fiscal year, 4 fiscal years, a significant increase in gas tax revenue, even separate from SB1 funding or any of the gas tax funding. This is just stuff that we have through an audit process and some due diligence from our finance folks. We're able to identify this money that the city was entitled to a long time ago. Of great note, as presented at the budget hearing, we have a $22.9 million reserve with 41% of the general fund based on 2016-2017 expenditures, and that's just an incredible accomplishment for a city this size. And then we created the budget in brief pamphlet so people can understand the budget process here in the city of Gardena a little more. Next, transportation one-year accomplishments with increased ridership through continuing outreach, marketing, and education. And in their industry, that's an ongoing practice. And recently approved a contract to take a look at our ridership and how that's working. They use all of that data to enhance their ability to reach the right marketplace and increase ridership for our community. We are all very proud of the electric vehicle demonstration program that we're working on electric vehicles, getting the state-of-the-art buses here to try them out and see how they will work into a blend of our fleet. And then lastly, over the next several years, we're gonna replace 57 buses in total. That's a huge amount of buses. It's a lot of money, and we're going to have a hybrid fleet. We're going to have compressed natural gas and electric, and certainly moving that organization in the right direction, and of course being environmentally sensitive to our community. Our facilities and infrastructure, I've mentioned this before at our budget presentation. We have a lot of infrastructure here that has delayed maintenance on it, and we need to be very, very attuned to the fact that these buildings are used a lot by our community members, and we want to ensure that they have the best facilities to use in our community. So we're going to be doing an ongoing inventory and prioritizing where those capital improvements relative to our city facilities are going to occur, and that will be part of the CIP report I give you in October. We do an ongoing assessment of our fleet needs to develop a 5-year replacement plan. Many of the vehicles, sometimes you see come in front of you, are like, circa 1970 or sometimes even older. Most recently, I know that the facilities department is very happy because we got them 2 brand new vans, and then we ordered another 15-passenger van for the Parks and Recs department, which is well overdue, and I know that all the employees there are very happy. We upgraded all of our phone systems to voice over IP, which resulted in about $100,000 savings for telephone service and maintenance. All these cost-cutting and enhancements, just really add to the bottom line. A lot of great work being done by our employees to identify where those savings can be done. And then we've updated our website, which you've all seen, but now we are also going to roll out an intranet for internal communications and sort of automate a lot more things that we could do internally that we do by paper now. And then finally, workforce excellence. Finance piloted the first Lunch and Learns, which will be followed by the city clerk's office. And this is where an opportunity come in for employees from wherever they work in the city, come in to take a look at what finance does, how things work, and learn about general operations in the city. So I know finance did a great job on the first one. No pressure, city clerk's office. I'm sure you'll do a great job on the next one. We increased staff participation in off-site training, meetings, and professional conferences to get our workforce to be, excellent in what they do. They need to keep abreast of what's contemporary in their fields, and investment in education really does pay off, whether it's through efficiencies, enhanced customer service, what have you. It's really important that we invest in our workforce to develop them to be the best they can possibly be. And then we established a scanning program beginning in the city clerk's office. There's a lot of paper throughout this city hall complex. The more we can get digitized, it's not just saving space, but it's the ability to retrieve it in a more efficient manner. One thing I'll point out is the clerk's office is now going to look at all our claims being sent digitally and just trying to enhance the ability to circulate the information, but at the same time, reduce the use of paper. So that's kind of an update on the 5-year plan. What's interesting is that we have accomplished 34% of the set goals, and we're about 25% into the plan. So we have no doubt that we're going to achieve all of the goals in our strategic plan, and hopefully, time permitting and our resources availability, we'll even enhance some of those. So with that, I'll take any questions from the council.
Okay, thank you. That's very commendable to see we're already at 34% right now. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments at this time? Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Chief, for the presentation. And it's good that in any project plan that you're over a third of the way done, just getting into it. That's definitely, folks are actually putting in some good work and everything like that. The question I have in regards to how frequent are city staff and everybody going to actually make sure that we're hitting all our milestones, and how frequently do you plan on everybody meeting?
Yeah, we plan on internally assessing the plan quarterly to ensure that we're meeting our benchmarks. We'll be presenting to the City Council annually on where we're at, unless the City Council desires a more frequent update.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions? I have one quick question in regards to the city clerk's office. How long will we keep an item that we've scanned? I mean, what period of time?
That's an excellent question. Right now, we're in the process of updating our retention schedule. It all depends on what type of document it is. Some documents have to be kept forever.
Okay.
Some as little as a year. It all depends. It runs the gamut. For example, in the police department, if you have a homicide, that's kept for life.
Okay.
But if it's more of a routine administrative item, sometimes it's just as low as 1 to 2 years. It all depends.
Okay, I see. Okay, well, with that, looks like we can go ahead and receive and file this item since there's no other questions on it. Next, we're moving on to item number 8A2. Mr. City Manager.
Give me 1 second to transition.
Go ahead.
Item 8A2 is a request approval for the city's travel policy. A number of council meetings ago, the issue of travel had come up, and we had taken a look, as requested by the city council, to develop a travel policy. Initially, the travel policy was centered, and it was going to be sort of council-centric, but we thought it'd be most appropriate to have a travel policy for all employees, because many employees travel. We want to have a consistent travel policy. So what's requested is approval for the city's travel policy. It's important that, as I mentioned, we send our employees to the right proper training, conferences, networking abilities to really market the city, enhance their professionalism, and enhance their skills to deliver whatever service they are in their respective departments. It also is required to comply with state law to have a comprehensive travel policy. There's really no fiscal impact on this policy. This policy was put together from stakeholders led by the finance department, but with input with others, to really define what is allowed, who gets to approve what, and what are the conditions that you can travel on, and some of the specifications. So with that is my recommendation that you approve the city's travel policy. It's about 7 pages in length. It's fairly detailed, but I think very easy for the employees to follow, and it sets forth the guidelines under which all of city employees can travel.
Okay. Are there any questions from any council members? Questions or comments? If not at this time, can I ask for a motion to approve this item as is?
So moved.
Second.
Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Tanaka and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Medina. Will you call the roll?
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Medina.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Kaskanian.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 8B1. Bless you.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item number 8B1 is adopt ordinance number 1779, approving the zone change from business and professional office to medium-density multiple family use related to the 6,400 square foot property located at 15126 South Budlong Avenue. This was introduced by Mayor Pro Tem July 25th at council meetings. Reminder, you did receive an update on what that is, and that's essentially turning a parcel that, in the staff's opinion, was miszoned during the general plan amendment and to return it to its proper zoning for consistency with the surrounding areas. So the council action is required is to adopt ordinance number 1779.
Okay, thank you. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments at this time? Councilmember Kaskanian?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. City Manager, how can we miss that one particular, APN? Don't we rezone block by block or by APN numbers by individually? I thought we do block by block.
We do, but if you look at the number of parcels on our zoning map, there's thousands of them. So this one little parcel where they drew the line, essentially the line went a little bit too far. It should have stopped right where this property ended, and it should have been zoned appropriately with the other surrounding properties. This was an oversight.
So adjacent to this property that we are rezoning, it's commercial to the south of it or to the north of it? I mean, it's over here. My understanding is it was commercial. Now we are rezoning it to R3 medium density.
It was, prior to the general plan amendment, it was zoned this way. When we did the general plan amendment, they changed it because they got it wrong, and this is just a request to return it back to the original zoning.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other questions at this time? If not, can I get a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Medina and a second by Councilmember Henderson. Will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Medina,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Councilmember Kaskanian,
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 8B2. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Serta. Members of the City Council, this is the adoption of ordinance number 1778, amending the zoning provisions of the Gardena Municipal Code related to accessory dwelling units in accordance with state law. As you remember, you did receive a presentation on this particular item at the last council meeting. It was introduced by Councilmember Tanaka July 25th. On June 6, 2017, Planning and Environmental Quality Commission recommended the City Council approve the ordinance. This is the necessary follow-up at this meeting to adopt the ordinance, which required is an adopted ordinance of 1778.
Okay, thank you. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments at this time? Councilmember Tanaka?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We just have to realize that we don't have a choice in this, but for us to have our own ordinance, it allows us to make the decisions and not let the state make the decisions for us. So without further ado, that's why we introduced this tonight.
Are there any other questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Tanaka and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Medina. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Medina,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Kaskanian,
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 8B3.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item number 8B3 is adoption of ordinance number 1776, amending Chapter 18.43 of the Gardena Municipal Code related to density bonus and other incentives in accordance with state law. As a reminder, this ordinance was introduced on July 25th by Councilman Henderson. The Planning and Environmental Quality Commission recommended at the June 6, 2017 meeting to adopt the ordinance. This is ordinance is it's required to vote this in as a follow-up to the previous meeting. It is a requirement of state law, which required is adopt ordinance number 1776 that was prior introduced by Councilman Henderson.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments at this time? Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to kind of echo Councilman Tanaka's sentiment, I did introduce this begrudgingly. Again, we have to kind of comply with state law, but I think at least we can try to control some of our destiny. But in relationship to how I think it's going to look moving forward, it's going to be a challenge for us. So we got to start really putting our thinking caps on moving forward. So I'll You already moved it. I'll second.
I had a quick comment here. Well, maybe this is a question for the city manager here. So with us now increasing where there's multiple units now that can be on a property, this of course is going to affect our infrastructure as well. Will we be able to request funds from the state since they're forcing this on us to help us as we try to, make sure our infrastructure can handle something like this? Is there anything down the line that they're talking about that you know of?
Yeah, this density bonus really applies to developments that meet lower income or one of the other requirements to allow them to have a higher density than is allowed under our current code. So to the extent that if somebody wanted to build, let's say, a senior housing unit, low-income senior housing unit, they would be allowed to take advantage of this density bonus as part of their development plan. So that we certainly could leverage, other federal, state, and county money that would be available to increase the density and develop a good project.
Okay, I see. I'm sorry, Councilmember, did you make the motion? Or you introduced it, but I'm sorry, were you making a motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to adopt.
Okay, and was there a second?
Second.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Henderson and a second by Councilmember Tanaka. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Medina,
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian,
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 8E1. Mr. City Manager.
Item 8E1 is a cooperative agreement by and between the County of Los Angeles and the City of Gardena for Alondra Park, Del Air, Hawthorne Island paratransit service for fiscal year 2018 and 19. G-Trans operates special transit services for senior citizens and customers with physical disabilities. Services operated using 8 modified vans and minivans. All customers must be pre-certified, and fare for one-way trips is 75 cents. Provisions of the service for the City of Hawthorne and the specified communities in unincorporated Los Angeles County is provided under a cooperative agreement between the City of Gardena and both parties respectively. Both entities reimburse G-Trans for the cost per trip for the number of actual trips provided, less the cash fares collected by G-Trans up to a maximum specified amount. Current agreement with the LA County expired on June 30th, 2017. G-Trans is required to submit to the LA County monthly invoices along with required documentation. The fiscal impact, County of Los Angeles agrees to reimburse G-Trans for up to a maximum of $50,000 for fiscal year 2018, up to a maximum of $55,000 for fiscal year 2019. Funds support the operation of the G-Trans Special Transit. No impact to the general fund. What's required is approve the cooperative agreement between the City of Gardena and the County of Los Angeles for paratransit services for fiscal year 2018 and 2019.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments at this time? Councilmember Tanaka?
Just a quick comment. My mom is a senior in Gardena, and this is a great opportunity to actually pay $1.50 to get a ride somewhere. They pick you up at your house, they take you to your destination, they pick you up and bring you back home. This is a great opportunity for our seniors and those that need it, so take advantage of it.
Okay, any other questions or comments at this time? If not, can I get a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Cascanian and a second by Councilmember Tanaka. Will you call the roll?
Councilmember Cascanian,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka, Mayor Pro Tem Medina,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 9A1. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, this is a returning item. At one of the previous council meetings, I did provide a staff report indicating that there was a plan in place for the recognition of Gardena military veterans. At the June 11th City Council meeting, Council issued a directive to provide a method or protocol for recognizing military veterans living in the City of Gardena at regularly scheduled council meetings. Back in March 2014, this item was also discussed and initiated by Mayor Pro Tem Medina. Staff has reviewed the prior research done and recommends the following. Recognition of Gardena military veterans should take place at the beginning of each council meeting. One veteran per council meeting. Staff will work with the Veterans Office and other stakeholder groups, council members, community members to establish a master list of veterans who are eligible. The list will be vetted by staff. Selection should be made by the mayor and council members on a rotating basis. If someone who is not on the list is nominated by the council, their eligibility will be verified by city staff before the recognition. A veteran deemed ineligible should not be recognized, but validation would require a little bit of staff inquiry. It is our recommendation that the staff consider this and approve the proposed recognition process, which we would probably initiate maybe at the first council meeting in October as we work through identifying the list of candidates and having them available. The list in kind of practical order would be provided to the council members for their own review and selection, and as the mayor deems appropriate, would start that rotation process during that council meeting.
Are there any questions at this time or comments? Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Medina, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have a quick amendment of sorts. I've had some calls from certain military personnel, or veterans, should I say, that live in the Gardena address, but not in the Gardena city. So I'm just wondering if they have a Gardena zip code like 90249 or 90248, if they would be eligible or not, or can we cover surrounding cities or not? That's one of those where everyone has to decide.
I will do whatever the council desires relative to the area. I would probably, if you were to consider that, really limit to the Gardena, general surrounding area and mailing addresses. So it's up to the council to provide me direction which way they would like to see that work.
Okay, we can bring that up for discussion in just a moment. Are there any other questions up here? We do have a person who would like to speak on this item, Mr. Terry Kennedy, if you'll come forward.
Good evening, members of the council. I'm glad to see this issue on your agenda for action. I read the one-page report by Ed Medrano, and this comes close to being a perfect report in my mind. He covers almost all the issues. The only thing that I would change on this is the agenda title. I would add at the end, at city council meetings. Because if you Google city councils and veterans, you will get a whole bunch of hits where city councils have recognized veterans, but usually on a one-time only basis. This change that you're doing is a change in the agenda itself. And I think that's important, and especially important for other cities, nearby cities, to answer the question that just came up. Lawndale might want to do their own, and Carson and the other cities also have veterans. And I think that if you enact this, they will be interested in this too. And you can give them the one sheet thing. Here's how we're doing it. It's a great report. I wanted to clarify Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard and National Guard, are they going to be included? Okay. I don't know if we have any veterans from the 1940s or 1950s, World War II, or the Korean War. But you know something? I think if we do, they should be first. They are the longest people that we have living here. And while they're still here, I think we should honor them. I'm encouraged. I think you guys should talk to other city council members in other cities, Hawthorne and Carson and Torrance, and give them one of this. Say, this is how we're doing it. You can do it too, because they all have veterans. At one point in the future, it might not be cool to think about this, but you won't be on the city council. Okay, at one time. And so somebody's going to say to you, what did you do when you were on the council? An answer would be, well, I voted to put an agenda item so that we honor a veteran at every single council meeting. No one has ever done that, to my knowledge. I went in and Googled. I tried to find out if they had any, and I couldn't find a city council that does this. So in all likelihood, you will be the first ones to do this if you do it. It's not a done deal yet. I haven't heard. That's coming in a few minutes, I suppose. But to me, this is a great thing to honor people who put, men and women, who put the uniform on to defend our country. And I'm hoping to hear some yeses, at least 3 yeses, if not 5. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Were there any other questions or comments? Go ahead.
Just one slight, again, another slight amendment. We were thinking how you know how our city council receives a CD of our city council meeting. I was wondering if we can add in giving that soldier or male or female a copy of that, so they can have that for their lifetime, if that's possible. And if there's any extra expense, I'm willing to pay for it.
We can discuss that as well, too. Any other questions? I have a couple myself. So one of the things that I found in working with our nonprofit that we have, where we recognize veterans in Gardena, is that something that was pretty prevalent to us is that you have some people who may not live in Gardena, but they've worked in Gardena for 20 or 30 years. So we included them as well. And I don't know if that's something that the council would want to consider, because we've had people who worked in Gardena for 35 years and, you know, they were veterans as well. So for our nonprofit group, Gardena Honored Veterans, we included them. So that might be something that we as a council want to consider including them in as well, too. And maybe that might, too, help to answer your question as far as maybe in the unincorporated part of Gardena, where it's the Gardena mailing address, but it's not Gardena. Do we want to include that area as well? And I do think it was a great suggestion that Mr. Kennedy brought up, as we, you know, nominate the veterans to come up, to probably start with some of the older ones as well, because each council member will have that opportunity as we're rotating, you know, to nominate a veteran as well. One other point I want to bring up. So if we're nominating one veteran for every meeting here, that means every council member, we normally on average have, what, about 20 meetings a year, something like that? And so each council member can nominate a couple of times a year, and we'll kind of come up with an odd number, though, at the end. So does it just keep rotating until the following year so that it doesn't have to balance out? Okay. So let's open up for some discussion here as far as, do we want to open it up to people in the 9028 zip code or the unincorporated part? Any feeling on that? Councilmember Henderson.
How many people are we talking about in the 90248 and 90249?
I don't know. I don't have the staff
report. That's huge.
I can answer part of that.
Okay.
I've checked with our Gardena Veterans Resource Center on Redondo Beach Boulevard, and also at the U.S. Vets in Inglewood, and also the VA in Long Beach. We have approximately 700 veterans in the city of Gardena, quote unquote, by the post office. 90247, 90249, like that. But from the main Veterans Administration, they're saying we have 1,100. I don't know how many of them are still alive or not, but we have a few hundred that we can address to. And that the part about them working here and not necessarily living in Gardena, it can be kind of iffy, but at the same time, if other cities choose to do that, you know, they can be thanked twice. There's nothing wrong with being thanked twice, but the fact that we're acknowledging someone personally, I don't know of any city in the country that has, as a government agency, has thanked a veteran for their service. Personally, you actually give them a handshake, and hopefully they'll get a CD of that event, and it'll be something that their family will be proud of, especially if they're World War II or Korean or Vietnam or even some of the Middle Eastern wars that we've had lately. But my whole point of bringing this up is that it's a personal thing rather than just a name and a certificate. It's something that they can honestly say, because I've spoken to other veterans who say that they're walking down the street and they'll have a hat on that says combat veteran or Vietnam veteran, and they'll say that people will say, thank you for your service. but they don't know anything about them. In the premise, and I realize you put very short bio, it's good to know that so-and-so was a medic, so-and-so was a gunnery sergeant, so-and-so was a paratrooper, so-and-so was a nurse. So it's more of a personal outreach to our citizens, and that's my big concern.
If I could just comment on, in terms of the recognition, it was sort of trying to balance the timekeeping of the meeting. So, short bio so that we could move through it fairly quickly. Additionally, I'm looking at more than just sort of a certificate, something a little bit more tangible, not very expensive, but something that's reasonable so that they have some keepsake from that event. Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be fine. So I had a quick question. You mentioned 700 veterans. You're talking about in the unincorporated area, and the reason why I asked this is because there was a staff report that came out about 2 years ago that, based on the census report, stated that we have a little under 3,000 veterans in the city of Gardena. So are you speaking the unincorporated area? You think it's about 700?
Yeah, yes, I'm also speaking in terms of the unincorporated, because there's some 90248 goes all the way up to almost past Figueroa. Yeah.
Okay, Councilmember Henderson, you had a question.
I was going to say, and I agree with my colleague, Mayor Pro Tem Medina, in regards, as a veteran myself and working on veteran issues, I think it's important for us to recognize veterans. I don't think we should limit ourselves to whether you just reside in the city or you live in the unincorporated areas. If you work in the city and you're a veteran, we should always recognize our veterans for their service, no matter what their capacity and relationship and nexus to the city of Gardena. And I do agree we should give them a memento from the city of Gardena in regards to, we acknowledge your service and we thank you for your service as well. I think it's a great idea. I think we should definitely move forward on this. And it also, it sets a trend of what Gardena is all about in regards to moving forward. To what Mr. Kennedy said, that when we're all moved from this board and somebody asks you, what was the one thing you did? This would be that one thing that I think we can all look back to and saying this was that positive thing. Although we're all doing many things, but that would be that one thing that you can say that I can hang my hat on. So I definitely want to be in support of this, but we should not limit to your locale or whether you work in the city or play in the city. If you are a veteran and City of Gardena wants to recognize you.
Councilmember Kaskanian.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I do agree with, I would like to echo Mayor Pro Tem Medina's suggestion, but since we have 700 plus veterans in the city of Gardena alone, 90247, we're just talking 904, if we're gonna honor one veteran every meeting, we'll go about 50 years and we cannot, Absolutely. So my suggestion is that maybe we can start with our own resident veterans and then we go on, because 700, if we divide it with 20, we're going to go about 50 years, we might not be here, none of us. So I would suggest to honor our own veterans that they live in the city. With all due my respect to all veterans, my hat is off to all our veterans. We do thank for their service. But I think if we start with our own at this time, then we'll go, That's my suggestion, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Okay, well, that's on the table as well, too, now. So I think we're all in agreement here that it's okay to recognize veterans where they're veterans who live in Gardena as well as in the unincorporated portion of Gardena if they're within the Gardena mailing address. If they live in Gardena, if they work in Gardena, we're okay with that. As far as staying within the boundaries first, I don't know. Well, how do you guys feel about that?
I'm kind of the same opinion, though, that we should take care of our own City of Gardena veterans first. That's who we represent. Those are our people. They fought for us, and they live in our city. We should take care of them first.
Okay. Any other comments on that, Councilmember Henderson?
I was going to say, and also, if in regards to the large number, if you go by the decades of service, you kind of start rolling through, and I think just those that are serving in the Korean conflict and Vietnam War, that's probably a larger group. But if we go through World War II now, those are probably the only ones that are still living. We can kind of get through. But I'm not opposed to starting with Gardena proper and branching out as we move forward. I'm not opposed to that.
Just a point of clarification, is that Gardena proper for both working and living or just living?
You want to just living only? Not if they work in the area? Okay, Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem Medina, sorry.
I'd like to make a sort of an alternate, ulterior change, which is if the first maybe 5 or 6 council meetings that we have, if they're efficient enough, maybe we could move it up to 2 per meeting, or for that matter, 3 per meeting. As long as we keep the bios really, really short. So-and-so was a staff sergeant and was a gunnery sergeant in Vietnam from this time to that time. Thank you for your service. Come up, take a picture, bam. And here's your memento, whether it's a CD or whether it's whatever it is that staff comes up with. Just as an alternative as time goes by, if it starts to go that well, and we get good feedback from it, then maybe we should increase it to 2 or 3 a meeting. Because as it is, we have 2 kids that say the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we have our minister as well. And we give a short bio on each of them, and that's basically 3 people. So if we can keep that concise, just as an alternative, in case it starts to really roll out of hand and we have like thousands and thousands of people that want to get acknowledged, that's just an alternative I'm looking at.
Well, I personally would be okay with the idea of starting with 1 with the possibility of increasing to 2 depending on the demand for it. Now, I need a quick point of clarification here. So basically when we submit the name in to the city and they check to make sure that they were honorably discharged, make sure they get the bio back in time, we have to have all that information before it moves forward. Because like I said, I know how it is with our nonprofit that we do. It takes a while sometime to get all that information from our veteran, because a lot of times it just does. It takes a while. So, like I said, we can start with 1 and probably move to 2 if everybody's okay with that idea. So right now, I guess the way the motion stands here, that we'll be moving in favor of this here. We're going to limit to Gardena residents only who live in the city of Gardena. Not work. We didn't say work. Not work. Only those who live in Gardena. Now, maybe at a later time, a year or 2 years from now, as a council, we can change that. We can include that. But as of right now, we're going to say that live in Gardena, honorably discharged. I think that's already in here. We'll start with 1 veteran. We can move up to 2, and we'll hand them a CD along with it. Was something else that was said?
Of some sort.
A CD, memento, and I think that was the only amendment change to it. Like challenge coins or something. Challenge coins? It's getting bigger and bigger. But I think we would be okay with that. And to start, and as a council, as we're nominating the names that we would take into consideration, started with some of the older generation first. But I think we can kind of play that as we go here. So as we start nominating the names here for that. So with that being said, is there a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Medina and a second by Councilmember Henderson. Will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Medina?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaskanian?
Yes.
And Mayor Serta?
Yes. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, I just wanted to thank Councilman Tanaka for giving me a second when we first introduced this to move it forward. I just wanted to make that comment. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we're going to move over to council directives. Before we open it up, I'm sorry, let's go ahead and council members, your directives. Do we have any at this time? Councilmember Henderson.
It's more of a question other than a directive. Chief, has the city of Gardena done a study on electric charging stations already in the city? I'm trying to recall. I think we have had a discussion about it, but I don't recall.
I'm not aware of a study that has been conducted on the charging stations, although those kind of things are considered in development project review.
And then the second question in regards to the Environmental Justice Committee, because we have not designated an internal employee yet, are we waiting for the community to kind of coalesce and reconvene, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, it was one of my things I was going to report on the memo in there, and indicates that you know, the spin-off of the Environmental Justice Committee is really driven by the community. So when the community decides they're going to reorganize that, we would assign a staff person to be there as a liaison.
Thanks.
I have a question. Isn't that a nonprofit, the Environmental Justice, or is it a committee?
I believe they've morphed into a nonprofit organization. I'm not sure if they have their formal designation or not, but staff does not. I mean, staff just goes there as a liaison. It does not run the meetings or provide, you know, agendas or anything like that. It's just sort of a monitoring and you know, just as a liaison.
Okay, I see. Are there any other directors at this time? I do have one directive. One of the things it seems like I'm noticing a lot of is that residents are putting a lot of their furniture and items that they don't want anymore on their front lawns or in front of their homes. I don't know if they assume somebody's going to pick this up, or they put it out there and somebody else goes on Gardena Direct and then says, hey, we have items sitting out. I don't know how this is being done, but I'm noticing a lot of that in the community here. I don't know if this is something that maybe code enforcement, if it's in front of someone's house, if they can knock on the door and go, hey, you can't put this out here. If we can look into that item there, because every day it looks like it's just increasing more and more. And it just as a reminder to people that they cannot just leave their discarded items in front of their homes, whether it says free or not.
So approximately maybe just a little under 2 years ago, this issue was really, really rampant, and you're exactly right. There's so many layers to this problem, and one of the ways we decided to take a look at is from a code enforcement standpoint. So using Gardena Direct, we're able to heat map where the highest concentrations of repeat dumping is, and we've been very aggressive going after property owners with notices of violation and administrative citations for the conduct of their residents. Some of them are rentals, the apartment complexes, et cetera, and have had several appeal hearings relative to the enforcement of the ordinance. So yeah, you know, we through Gardena Direct, when the right-of-way crew gets a report, it's entered and also coordinates with code enforcement when they are repeat offenders. But it is, I know this week we've had a couple reports of refrigerators and other things, and we're certainly diligent on that. I'll provide a report to kind of highlight what the process is relative to those things that are you know, just abuses of or laziness, really, not to call either Waste Resources or Gardena, or just not spending the money to dump things and pay for them themselves. That's exactly what the issue is.
Okay, thank you. Any other directors? If not, then our city manager, do you have a follow-up to some of the previous directives that were made?
Yeah, I have a number of things. I'll try to go through them as quickly as possible. It was a request by Councilman Henderson about where we advertise our capital improvement projects and the methodology that we use for that, and that memo is included in your council packages. Something more on a high note and a fun note, the Ichikawa visit is well into full swing, and there's you know, some pretty close timelines that we got to work with. The city has the city itself has recommended some dates for us to consider. But first and foremost, I'll need to know who's going to be part of the official delegation. So if I would ask that the city council members who are interested in going, if they could first please let me know ASAP, so that I can begin working with the Sister City organization and the city of Ichikawa. They do want to take care of us. They had a great visit. They want to plan as much and essentially plan anything that we want to do. The suggested date to leave was the trip would be from November 1st, but we would have to leave October 31st and be there, you know, November 1st, 2nd, 3rd through the 5th. They've sent us a really nice email regarding what we want to do, what we want to see in addition to the official state delegation things. So I really would like to get back to them to ensure that they know we're interested, and they can start planning, because just based on this email, you can tell they really want to take care of the official delegation and those others that want to go. So if you could, as quickly as possible, so I can coordinate with Tracy Nakaoka, please let me know your availability and if you'd like to go. Once the delegation is limited to 6 people, once I figure out who the council members are, then the other official delegation would be offered up to the department heads and then other managers as our employees as we move down.
What are the dates again?
The scheduled, the desired date would be leaving LAX would be October 31st to get there by November 1st because of the time change. We do make up the time change on the way back.
And what's the return date?
The 5th.
So is there a limit to the number of council members that would be attending? I mean, or, I don't know. Just so as we're discussing, you know, who wants to go or?
I mean, I don't think that there's a limit. I mean, that we are limited by how much money the city's going to authorize for us to spend, which will come back as a different additional item.
Okay.
I know that they are very excited about having a solid delegation.
Okay, I see. So if my colleagues, I'm sure most of you guys kind of know today, but if you can speak with the city manager afterwards. There's only one day. I'm sorry, was there more than one date? It's still leaving October 31st, correct? Is there more than one?
Yeah, they're very organized. They're really working on around a November 1st arrival date would be ideal. There may be some flexibility, but that's.
Turn your mic on. Turn your mic on.
On the 4th, there is a Ichikawa International Exchange Association is hosting Japan Day. They want us there for that.
Japan Day.
So.
Okay, I see. Go ahead.
In years past, we've always left and come back as a group. Mayor Serta was with me when we went to our last Ichikawa visit, and we had to leave there and come back at the same time. There was a couple of people who stagnant came by, but they paid for it on their own. It wasn't paid for by the city.
Okay.
As indicated, the travel policy is now approved, so that helps us plan this trip. I also included in your package is a most recent development update report, which shows a lot of activity in a couple different places. So if you have questions about what's going on and you see some dirt moving around, hopefully that provides you some insight in terms of what's going on. One of the biggest items that we have to deal with as a city is setting a September 12th study session for the issue of the elections. Consolidation of the elections is something that's of vitally importance to our community, as well as the elected officials. I don't believe having just a staff agenda item to vote on is the appropriate way to go. I would like to have a formal presentation along with the support of the city clerk's office to really give you all of the pros and cons, and then follow it up with an agenda item to have the city take an official position on that. There was a question regarding about SB1 funding by Councilman Medina. That's in there. We also did have a subsequent meeting with Assemblymember Gibson's office today about opportunities to support some SB1 funding, so that's in there. And there's a number of miscellaneous responses to personal inquiries from the City Council. That's all in your package. That's all I have to report, Mayor Serta.
Is there a report in here on the 4th of July? Is that information already enclosed in here, or no?
As indicated in the last one, that they have a time frame to report, so we can't provide the revenue from the nonprofits until the September meeting because their deadline.
Okay, at that time. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so next up we have council remarks. First up is Councilmember Kaskanian.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since our last meeting, it was a little light events that I attended. I was out of town for a few days. I was unable to attend all the events. But on June 27th, I met with the Assemblyman for 64 District, Mike Gibson, and it was just a friendly meeting. We talked, and I met him at the El Camino College. He was a speaker, not speaker for the students, and the principal, or I would say the professor, he invited me to be there, and I met with him briefly, and we just discussed a few things, and he has the regards to all the council member and the mayor. And on August the 1st, I attended a National Day Night Out at the Target parking lot. It was a great event. It was well organized. Thank you to the police department. Thank you to Louis Villanueva. And thank you to Abigail. They all were there. And whoever was behind the scene were helping and organizing this, putting together. Thank you very much. It was a great event. A lot of residents, a lot of police officers, they were present. They were talking to the residents. And I spoke with few business owners too as well. And I suggested them maybe for next year to be there and support this event. And other than that, Madam Mayor, nothing else to report. That will end my report.
Okay, thank you. At this time, next we'll have Councilmember Tanaka.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also was pretty light. I got to actually do some pastoral work and some Elks work, but National Night Out was a great success. The police department did an outstanding job with the help of Target. And we thank all the vendors and the emergency preparedness people that came out that showed our community the resources that are available to them in emergency responses. I hope they were impressed. I hope that they saw all the things that are available to them and why we have such a quick response time when they call for help. I was able to help the 156th Street Elementary School. Apparently they weren't able to get rooms for their summer program, and I don't see Kelly, but I thank Parks and Recs for helping me out to give these kids some space so they could do their summer science projects and learn a little bit about science. And so thank you very much. I appreciate that. It was a great little note. And that ends my report.
Okay, next is Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since our last meeting, I've been a little bit busy, but it's been a little light. I've met with Assembly Districts 62, 64, and 66, just to kind of get some inclination of what they got going on in the state and how it definitely affects City of Gardena. SB1 is something that they all kind of talked about, so that's something we can definitely take advantage of. I was also at the Sunrider Gala in Torrance, which was a great event there with the Sunrider Company, actually a longtime business in the city of Torrance, so we were out there with a bunch of other elected officials. July 29th, I participated in the Assembly Member Autumn Burke, 62. They had a back-to-school health and wellness fair over in the city of Lawndale, so I did stop by there. We had our National Night Out. Everybody heard about it. The pizza was great. The people were great. Target was great. Spent too much money in Target as usual. I hate going there, but but it's a good night out. It was a good opportunity for our community to actually interface with our public safety officials and understand that community policing is important. On August 2nd, I did observe our traffic committee meeting. That was definitely a passionate meeting in regards to our community and how we're going to handle parking moving forward. I think that committee will send a recommendation to council. I want to thank the committee themselves for taking immediate action and allowing the community to express themselves in regards to the issue. A few common themes did kind of come to the surface that I think we can address immediately in regards to enforcement and different things like that. But I think I would like to remind my colleagues that moving forward with these ADUs and all these parking challenges, that we have to definitely come up with a pretty good comprehensive parking scheme for the city of Gardena, because we're going to be packed in these 6 square miles, so we have to come up with something. August 5th, I was at El Camino College at the Sensory Integration Education Research Foundation. They had a back-to-school event. It was keynote was our mayor, Tasha Serta. She did a great job, and the crowd loved her. Everybody was cheering and hollering. It was a great event. Also, Open City Hall. I'm having my Open City Hall on Saturday, August 9th here at City Hall. Please enter through the southwest gate over here. And I also would like to send a congratulations to Mrs. Nichelle Henderson. She's being recognized by Assembly District 66 as a woman in service and everything. So she's actually doing a lot of work as well. Madam Mayor, so ends my report.
Okay, thank you. And for myself, since the last city council meeting, I too attended the Sunrider Gala event along with Councilmember Henderson, and it was a great event, a fun night out. This company has done a lot of great work in the city of Torrance, but it kind of spills over into the city of Gardena. I know they participate in Gardena a lot, so that was a great event for me to be able to attend. I too also attended the National Night Out, and it was a really great turnout this year. And I just want to commend, I believe it was Officer Villanueva for really getting the message out. I think I had about 5 notices sent to me that it was National Night Out. It was on Nixle, and we got notices in our council packet. But great job in making sure we had a good turnout, and that it was a great turnout. So a lot of fun. I wish them same type of success again next year, as well as we let the community know, what a great partnership, we have with the police department, Target, and the community as well. And I too spend way too much money in Target, but I enjoy spending my money there, so that was good. Also, I too attended the event that Councilman Henderson was speaking of, but I'm just going to give you the acronym. It's called SURF. I can't remember the full name for it, but it was a back-to-school giveaway that was given to children who many of the children have learning disabilities and they're autistic. So I participated many years with that group, as well as Councilman Henderson and a few others here on the council. So it's a great organization that remembers our disabled students. They give out yearly iPads, backpacks, and all sorts of things to help those who need a little bit more help than maybe some of our other students as well. So that was a great event on last Saturday. And also this past Saturday, I had the opportunity to introduce a new little project that I'm working on. Something that's come to my attention is that there are a lot of people nowadays that are having strokes and heart attacks at a very young age. And a lot of this can be reduced if we were out exercising a little bit more and eating right and drinking more water and probably less soda. So a new challenge I have is called the Mayor's Challenge. And what I'm encouraging people to do is come out every first Saturday of the month and come walk with me. And what I'm doing is I'm walking at 3 parks on the first Saturday of every month. We start off at Raleigh Park from 9 a.m. to 9:45, and we walk about 1.5 miles. We're not walking really fast, but we just want to get people encouraged and thinking about walking. So that's from 9 to 9:45, and then after that, I will go to Freeman Park from 10 a.m. to 10:45, and those who are in the District 2 area, I want to encourage you guys to come out and walk as well. And then from 11 to 11:45, I will go to Johnson Park. So it's every first Saturday from now, for the next year now. This is what we'll be doing. And we had a great turnout for the first, this past Saturday. In fact, some people followed me from Raleigh Park to Freeman Park because they wanted to walk some more. So the hope is that not only will you walk the first Saturday of every month, but you will consider walking several other days throughout the month. So this is my challenge to everybody to please consider getting healthy with me, and hopefully be a lot of fun as we all just walk around the park there. So no stress. We don't have to walk fast. We don't have to run. There are some people who are trying to run, but we'll let them run around the park while we just walk slowly. So if you like more information on this, I will leave this in the city manager's office, and it's a little flyer here that says the Mayor's Challenge. And also on the back of the flyer, it gives some of the benefits of walking. And what I learned over the process of the past few months is that when you walk more, this helps improve not only your blood pressure, but it can help limit colon cancer, improves your balance. It helps reduce the chances of Alzheimer's by as much as 5 years, depending on how much you walk. It limits motion sickness. It works out the arms. Helps reduce the risk of osteoporosis. But there's so many benefits to walking. So that's why I thought this was really important for us here in the city of Gardena, because there's too many people, as I stated, who are having strokes and heart attacks at a very young age. So please consider this with me. I will be announcing this for many more months to come. So it's called the Mayor's Challenge, every first Saturday of the month. So you have 3 hours to come out and join us from 9 o'clock till 10, or 10 to 11, or 11 to 12. And that ends my report. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since our last meeting, I also attended the National Night Out, and it's turning more into a carnival, which is a lot of fun. What was that truck called where everybody wanted to take pictures on a new vehicle that we have in our police department, and there was a crowd waiting just to take pictures with that. So I'm really proud of the fact that we have that. I also delivered cakes to our convalescent homes in Gardena. We have 6 convalescent homes in Gardena, and one of them is a Alzheimer's center, which is Clearview. They also have Alzheimer's diets as well as Alzheimer's therapy for the mind. And it's really, really nice that we get to deliver birthday cakes, because at the last Friday of the month, we deliver birthday cakes to 6 convalescent homes in Gardena. And those who have birthdays in that month get to celebrate. And speaking of birthday cakes, we have a birthday today, and we'd like to invite all those who's still out there. We're going to like to invite you to help celebrate our City Attorney Peter Whalen's birthday of and come help. No, yeah, he just turned 40 again. Turned 40, and so please come by and help celebrate. We have coffee, we have a cake, and also this coming Saturday, which is August 12th, we will have a 17-piece orchestra right here, right in front of City Hall, called the Esquires, and from 5 to 7 p.m., all the ice cream you can eat, but they don't serve the ice cream till 6. So come on by. It's a free concert. It's a free ice cream as well. And I want to send a big congratulations to my granddaughter, Angelina, who just read a book for 386 pages, like that. So she finished her summer project sooner than she expected, so she can get to play for the rest of the summer. And that ends my report.
Okay, thank you. So tonight, as we get ready to adjourn our meeting, we're going to adjourn in remembrance of a couple of people here. The first one being Mrs. Mary Lee Overy. She was 101 years old, and she was the beloved grandmother of bus operator Sharon Prophet with the City of Gardena Transportation Department. We're also going to be adjourning in memory of Mrs. Frankie Andrews, who is the beloved sister of the bus operator Irene Taylor, also with the City of Gardena Transit Department. We're also going to be adjourning in memory of Mr. Hideo Oshima, who was 88 years old and a longtime resident of Gardena. He's survived by his loving wife, Ellen, and their 2 children, 7 grandchildren, and many nieces and nephews and other relatives. So tonight's City Council meeting will adjourn to our next City Council meeting, which will be on Tuesday, September 12th, 2017. We will not be having a City Council meeting on August 22nd. At this time, we stand adjourned.